Hi, I'm Stephen Bruyant-Langer. I've spent 15 years as a global marketeer with L'Oreal and Coca-Cola. Then I was a headhunter for 20 years. And for 30 years, I've been an executive coach working with leaders globally in order to help assist them in their personal and professional lives, both as leaders and as humans. We have choices, we can act, we can take responsibility. And I've worked with these concepts for a number of years. The end result was a model that you'll see here to the right on the screen. It's about choice, action, and responsibility. When I visualized this, everything, came into place. It was sort of a full circle. And the idea is that what is interesting is not only the choice, the action, and responsibility. Actually, what is more interesting is the gaps. So what we focus on in this model is the gap between choice and action, for example. If you have a choice, but you don't act, you choose, but you don't act, then it lacks impact, right? There's no result. There's no outcome. There's no product, which is futile also in the business world. So we as leaders, it's not enough about making choices. We need to act to have an external impact. Then you have the action responsibility gap. The action responsibility gap is crucial because if you choose, you act, but you don't take responsibility, then you lack integrity. And integrity is probably one of the most fundamental characteristics in true leadership. And there's a tendency, if you're not a mature leader, to become sort of blame shifting, right? That you tell yourself or others that this is not your responsibility. This is not my doing. It is not concerning me. It's somebody else. Children do that intuitively. They say, it wasn't me, just even though it's obvious to everybody that it was actually me. But so there's a tendency inside of us to not take responsibility. And, that, of course, is a lack of integrity. Then we have the responsibility choice gap. We think about what is happening in the world, everything that is happening for the moment, turmoil, and we tend to blame others and talk about others, but without making choices. You can reinvent yourself. You are able to attack or approach these new issues with a broad mind. So we all have these default behaviors, right? The one between choice and action is probably the one that we all know. I know it certainly. It's called procrastination, right? So we think that tomorrow will be the busiest day of the week. That's a Spanish proverb. And we believe that our future self will solve issues or problems that we haven't solved today. And of course, this is simply imaginary. It won't happen. So as a leader, what you can do personally is to identify what type of default behavior you have. Where is the gap that is most important for you? When you think through different courses of actions, different implementations or projects, where is it that it stops for you in your mental process? Is it between the choice and action? Is it between the action and responsibility, or is it between responsibility and choice? And as long as you sort of get it right and that you understand that there is a sequence in this and you can identify where your default behavior is, where you're probably most insecure, then you can correct that behavior, right? There's no doubt that we're all extremely busy. And the world with technology development, etc., means that we're bombarded with different communications. This means that we have difficulties on keeping our eyes on the horizon, right? Looking in the long term. So therefore, consider this choice, action, responsibility model as a steering wheel where you can keep track of what is important in the future and then be able to correct when you deviate from the optimal path for you, which aligns with your vision. And then you can align yourself towards this vision of your meaning, adding value to both yourself have self-awareness, and making that a lever for adding value to the organization, to the company. The subtitle of my book, The Existential Playbook, is How to Survive, Live, and Thrive. And I very often talk to leadership groups or teams, and I urge them to take care of themselves. And that goes for you too. You have an obligation to be resilient in turbulent times. You have an obligation to remain calm, confident, and clear. And that you can only do if you are in a good physical and mental shape. So sometimes restitution time or reflection time actually is a lever for performance. And that is not built into our daily schedules, bombarded with meetings, with obligations, with deadlines. And therefore, your brain will go into a sort of battle mind where everything is a battle, everything is competitive. That is what the surroundings pour at you. So if you need to have the overview and looking at the horizon or beyond the horizon, then you need to take care of yourself first and foremost. And that sort of looks like egocentricity or egotism and not being collaborative, but it's a necessity. We can't only work for others. We can't always give. If you have an introvert tendency, then you need to refuel. You need to have time for yourself. You need to have reflection time. And it's the only way to have a sustained, let's say, competitive potential that you don't burn out. Of course, all this could sound a bit theoretical, a bit abstract. If you want to apply the car model and have this steering wheel, imagine a big red Lamborghini, the car, right? And you have the steering wheel. Then there's one important question that you have to answer. And that is, what existential choice do I still need to take responsibility for? You need to find out what you need to do that you have postponed for many years, but which will have an impact, an immediate impact, and also provoke a feeling of relief when you perform. So what is the next existential choice that you have to take responsibility for?